The silence of space was deceptive. From the black veil beyond Eshket Prime, Marshal Kavol-Zarn watched Earth's broadcasts flicker on the projection grid, military drills, explosions from controlled demolitions, shouting protesters, a soccer riot, a child hugging a bleeding soldier. The humans called it news. He called it evidence. They're unstable, he muttered, mandibles twitching. Emotionally unhinged. Spiritually hollow. Biologically volatile. A junior officer, smaller and hunched, kept its gaze low. And yet, they've survived everything thrown at them. Like fungus, Zarn snapped. Adaptation is not intelligence. It's infestation. Behind him, the lights of the Varnak command vessel dimmed as encryption layers finalized. The full fleet was ready, 76 warships, 2 subjugator-class carriers, and a data suppression array capable of erasing Sol's outer network grid in under a minute. Operation Scorched Seed was underway. Execute the countdown, Zarn said. The officer bowed. By your will, High Marshal. Thousands of kilometers away, in the gravitational shadow of Eshket's second moon, the human stealth frigate Ares Grin hovered in perfect silence, masked by a cloud of synthetic ice particles. Its matte black hull seemed to bleed into space itself. Inside, Commander Alara Miles leaned over a glowing terminal. Her crew stood at full alert, but the tension in the room wasn't panic, it was coiled patience. Encryption cracked, Lieutenant Hanan whispered. Took our AI 7 hours to get through Varnak cloaking protocols. But we got it. Alara didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the decoded directive. Her face, usually composed and sharp, had become unreadable. A full-scale preemptive strike. Not on a military post. Not a warning shot. A coordinated hit on Earth's orbital defense satellites, power grids, and comms relay, designed to blind Earth in minutes. She closed the file, inhaled slowly, and said, That's not war. That's extermination. Lieutenant Hanan stiffened. Orders, ma'am? Wake the Admiral. Quantum relay. Now. 30 seconds later, Admiral Ramesh's image flickered into the tactical holodeble. His voice was grave. You're certain? They're already on the move, Alara said. We have 9 days, max less if they skip protocol. And Earth? Blissfully unaware. And unprepared. Ramesh rubbed his brow. Then we warn them. No, Alara said flatly. We don't warn them. A silence. Explain. If we tip Earth off, they'll scramble defense. Panic. Then we're fighting on our turf. Billions of lives on the line. And your alternative? We meet the Varnak at Eshket. Off-grid. Isolate them. Cripple the fleet before it jumps to Sol. Let one survivor run home and tell the galaxy what happens when you stalk predators. Ramesh's eyes narrowed. This sounds like revenge. No, she said. This is reputation management. He didn't argue. He only nodded. Proceed. Within hours, Terran Defense activated protocol, Blackout Dawn. Every ship under Alara's forward command disappeared from Earth's sensors. Warp trails were hidden. Comms went dark. The Terrans moved like sharks beneath the galactic current, converging silently near Eshket. Ares Grin remained the spearhead. As the fleet dispersed across the asteroid belt, Alara initiated Phase 2 of her plan. Send the Valhalla drop. Civilian markings. Minimal armament. Controlled leak of falsified weakness reports. Make sure the Varnak captures them. Hanan looked hesitant. We're bait? They need to think we're blind, vulnerable, and alone. Let them believe we're limping. And if they don't take the bait? Alara's voice was ice. They will. 2 days later, aboard the Varnak command ship Saltharic, Kavol-Zarn reviewed intercepted Terran signals. A civilian freighter caught in a systems failure. Weak distress pings. Fragmented sensor logs. He leaned back, confident. Typical, he hissed. Their arrogance blinds them. Varl Sutek, his second-in-command, shifted nervously. This seems convenient. Perhaps too convenient. Zarn's eyes narrowed. Do you fear them, Varl? I fear miscalculating them. They have a tendency to surprise. Only because we expect civilization from savages, Zarn said. But they fight like animals. Reflex and rage. Not strategy. He turned to the bridge. Set course for Seoul via Eshket. Increase acceleration. We strike within 6 days. On Ares' grin, Alara stared at the stars. The battlefield would be here soon. Her mind wandered uninvited to Titan, years ago. The siege. Her first command. 2,000 colonists, no reinforcements, and a breach in the life support ring. She'd sealed it with 10 soldiers still inside. She'd heard them scream before the silence came. She hadn't hesitated then. She wouldn't now. Hours before the Varnak arrived, the trap was ready. Alara stood in the central command core, watching as her fleet vanished into the asteroid fields. Hidden orbital rods, buried under magnetic ash, stood ready to fire. AI-guided drones lurked behind comet tails, waiting. Status? She asked. All ships dark. Weapons cold. Bait ship in position. Varnak should enter strike radius in less than 5 hours. Alara nodded once. This is not a defense mission, she said to the room. We are not here to shield Earth. We're here to send a message. One they will never forget. She looked at her officers. They came hunting. Let's show them who they stalked. No one cheered. There was no need. Predators don't roar before they strike. They just close in, silent. And they don't miss. The void above Eshket Prime churned as the Varnak fleet emerged, sleek, bone-white vessels shaped like obsidian crescents, engines humming low like breathing beasts. 76 ships slid into formation in perfect silence. High Marshal Kavolzarn stood at the command dais aboard Saltharic, his mandibles clicking with restrained anticipation. Begin scan. Locate debris from the Terran freighter. Debris field located, Sutek replied. Power signatures minimal. No defense vessels detected. Of course not, Zarn muttered. They fall apart before battle begins. He stepped forward, claws tapping on the polished obsidian floor. Begin jump calculations. Seoul is 6 hours away. No need to linger. Sutek hesitated. Permission to speak freely? Zarn gave a subtle nod. This all feels too easy. No military response. No sensor interference. No fleet movement. They know how to fight, Marshal. This is unlike them. Zarn's eyes glinted. They're animals. Clever ones, perhaps, but predictable. Violence is instinct to them, not strategy. Let them thrash. We end them quickly. He waved a claw. Mark Eshket as the last quiet system before the fire. From behind the asteroid field, Alara Miles watched the Varnak ships settle into position, calm, overconfident, lined up in textbook rows like a parade float waiting for applause. She turned to her comms officer. Confirm status of our rods? All kinetic lances locked on capital hulls. Launch windows closing. 30 seconds to fire ready. AI drone swarm? Deployed and hiding in debris clusters. Awaiting live signal. Alara allowed herself a small breath. Then, let them think they're still hunting. The countdown reached 0. A soft chime. Fire. From the dark came the storm. 5 Terran orbital rods, each a tungsten spear the size of a shuttle, dropped from the black sky without warning. Traveling at point 1C, they struck the lead Varnak cruisers with unholy force. No explosions, just obliteration. Ship after ship folded in on itself, split down the center by impossible impact. Seconds later, the drones ignited. Stealth AI fighters powered on and launched suicide runs at the fleet's wings, frying sensors, injecting false telemetry, and cutting engines from the inside. Inside Saltharic, alarms screamed. Impact on command ships! Sutek shouted, barely keeping his voice steady. 3 vessels lost, no missile trail, no heat signature. They're just gone. They're in the field, another officer screamed. They were waiting for us. Zarn roared, slamming a clawed fist into the command table. Return fire! Deploy counter-drones! But there was nothing to shoot at. The humans hadn't attacked from a distance. They were already inside the perimeter. Ares grinned decloaked from behind a dead asteroid, railguns spinning to life. Twin beams lanced into the nearest Varnak destroyer, carving holes into the bridge before the crew could even register a lock. Alara stood in silence, watching ship after ship break formation in panic. Execute breakpoint protocol, she ordered. Split them. Herd survivors toward choke point Gamma. Roger that. Engaging gravity wells. Dozens of black Terran mines activated, releasing localized grav pockets across the fleet's retreat vector. Ships tried to break away, only to find themselves crashing into invisible walls, slamming into drifting debris or each other. Alara didn't smile. She simply pointed. Hit their rear carrier. Disable only. We let them see. In Saltharic, chaos reigned. They knew our jump points. They planned for our arrival. They've countered every formation. Silence! Zarn barked. This is not over! But his voice was lost beneath the shrieking of damage reports. Dozens of ships were gone. Others spinning out of control. Then a new voice crackled through open comms, Terran Standard, cold and clinical. Marshal Zarn, said Alara, calm as the void. This isn't an attack. This is a message. Zarn's breath froze. You stalked our home? You made your plans? You never asked what we were? Alara's voice cut deeper than the railguns. We are the apex predators. Then she closed the channel. The final phase came swift and merciless. Terran exosuits breached 4 Varnak destroyers simultaneously. Zero warning, no negotiation. Human marines moved like phantoms through the corridors, silenced weapons and gravity boots turning corridors into tombs. In 15 minutes those ships were empty. Dead quiet. Status? Alara asked. 71 enemy ships confirmed destroyed or disabled. 4 boarded. 1 escaping, flagged and tagged as intended. She nodded. Let it run. The Varnak escape pod shot away from the crippled wreckage, silent, intact. On its hull, plasma etched in human script and Varnak glyphs alike, read a simple line. You don't threaten apex predators. You run from them. In the aftermath, the Terran fleet remained motionless. No pursuit. No further fire. They just watched. As if daring the galaxy to blink. Inside Ares' grin, Alara stood alone in the observation deck. The stars beyond shimmered like indifferent gods. Her XO stepped in, voice low. Fleet is secured. Casualty count minimal. She nodded. The officer hesitated. You're sure letting one go was the right call? Alara didn't answer immediately. Her eyes remained on the empty black where Zarn's escape pod vanished. They need fear more than proof, she said finally. One survivor speaks louder than 1,000,000 corpses. Then she turned, leaving the silence behind. The Galactic Concord Assembly was silent. Not diplomatically quiet, not ceremoniously reserved, silent, as if language itself had withdrawn in caution. Hundreds of species, scaled, feathered, metallic, bioluminescent, filled the vast crescent hall on Draith Prime. Delegates watched a projection replay the wreckage of Eshket's orbit. 71 destroyed warships. 4 boarded, then vaporized. 1 escaped pod. High Marshal Kaval Zarn stood beneath the feed, hunched, burned, and broken. This, he rasped, is what you failed to believe. The footage shifted to the comms recording, Alara's voice, cold and calm, speaking over the open channel. We are the apex predators. A murmur rippled across the chamber. No translation filter softened those words. Every species heard them clearly. Ambassador Threll from the Zakan Clade turned to the Triumph Collective representative. They set a trap. Calculated vectors. Predicted jump points. That's not barbarism. That's doctrine. No. That's worse, came the reply. That's intelligence without restraint. The chairman of the assembly stood. An ancient being of translucent tendrils and neurorings, it pulsed with pale light. Keval Zarn, you were warned to observe. Not to provoke. Zarn lifted his head. And now you understand. They cannot be left unchecked. But the room had already changed. No one nodded. No one seconded. The message had been received. Not through negotiation. Not through diplomacy. Through demonstration. Half a sector away, Alara Miles sat alone in a bar carved into the inner hull of Ceres Station. The glass in her hands sweated gently, untouched. She stared at the feed overhead, blurred security footage of her fleet in Eshket orbit, now making its way across alien news channels. They were already calling it the Predator's Line. Footsteps approached. Rear Admiral Ramesh took the seat across from her without invitation. He didn't speak right away. You left one alive, he finally said. Bold. Alara didn't look at him. Necessary. He's preaching now. Rallying against us. I expected that. You think fear is enough? Alara sipped her drink finally. No. But it's a start. Ramesh leaned forward. There are factions in the Concord now that won't dare touch Earth. But others? You may have just united the fringe against us. They were already united. Just waiting. We gave them a reason to rethink their timetable. He nodded slowly, then pushed a data chip across the table. Encrypted dispatch from Strategic Command. Top tier. No AI logs. She took it without comment. You're a symbol now, Alara. The woman who stared down 70 ships and let one go. They're calling you the quiet predator. You good with that? No one fears noise, she said. They fear what waits in silence. Back in her quarters, she inserted the data chip into her secure terminal. The screen flickered once, then displayed a single directive. Operation Apex Silence. Below it a list. 12 names. Species. Leaders. Commanders. Scientists. A few unknowns. Each marked potential threat, human future integrity. At the bottom, a short instruction. Strategic elimination permitted at discretion. No galactic acknowledgement. Message control priority. Alara leaned back in her seat, the glow of the display casting sharp lines across her face. 12 names. 12 shadows moving in the dark. This wasn't peace. It was stage 2. The galaxy shifted in subtle ways. The Ryoth Alliance, long hostile to Terran mining colonies, suddenly signed a 10-year non-aggression pact. The Vaskari pirates, once boasting about human vulnerability, vanished from 5 systems overnight. 3 Concord factions removed Earth from their cultural contamination watch list. Others took the opposite path. Sleeper agents stirred. Spies pushed deeper into Sol networks. One Terran diplomatic ship was found sabotaged in orbit over Naresh. But no one made a move in the open. Not anymore. The message was working. Alara stood again on the bridge of Ares Grin, now orbiting Mars for refit. Her crew operated like always, efficient, quiet, respectful, but something had changed. It was in the way they watched her. Not fear. Not reverence. Something harder to define. Recognition, perhaps. She turned to her exo. Run a sim for intercept near the Kaela Drift. Use silence protocols. For recon? For demonstration. The officer gave no reaction. Just a crisp nod. Understood. On the edge of known space, a small research station blinked off the grid. No explosion. No radiation. Just silence. When alien recovery teams arrived weeks later, they found nothing but a coded message embedded in the station's environmental controls. You were warned. The forest is dark. Don't follow the sounds. In the assembly chamber on Draith Prime, Ambassador Threll watched that same message scroll across her terminal. She didn't speak to her aides. She didn't report it to Concord Command. She simply closed the file, sat back, and exhaled slowly. We made a mistake, she said aloud, to no one in particular. Elara stood again at her favorite spot on Ceres, above the maintenance rings, where she could see out into space without distortion. She thought about Titan. About the soldiers she'd left behind. About the Varnak soldier who'd begged for mercy before a drone silenced him mid-sentence. About Kevolzarn, drifting home in an escape pod designed to preserve just enough life and terror. And she thought about the forest. Because humans hadn't brought war to the stars. They had dragged the wild with them. Final line. Elara touched the glass, watching the distant light of a sun rise behind the curve of a distant moon. "We are not chaos," she whispered. "We are the natural order."